the couple that was caught red-handed at the Coldplay concert, and then we found out that they are married but not to each other.
One partner might actually be feeling increased need for intercourse or passionate involvement, while the other partner is not feeling that active.
And is this reduced intimacy level a sign of the relationship not working out?
Many people, end up in these, roommate relationships where you're living together, but there is no effort, no, spark, which is there in the initial period of dating.
Is it normal in couples who've been together for long for the intimacy to dip or go away? Welcome to the Pressure Principle. This is where taboos take a back seat and curiosity leads the way. This is where we explore the science, the soul, and sass of intimacy. When the spark fades, when the chemistry is not the way it used to be, is it the end or is it just a sign? Let's find out in this episode if there is anything that can be done to bring the spark back. And folks, joining us is Dr. Mansi. She's a psychiatrist, been practicing for over 10 years. Dr. Mansi, I want to talk about the most viral incident in the recent times and talk about the couple that was caught red-handed at the Coldplay concert, and then we found out that they are married but not to each other, to different people. I want to understand, does infidelity bring in, let's say, lack of intimacy between two committed or married partners?
That's a very pertinent topic to talk about, and thanks that you kind of brought it up. So what we need to understand is that it's the other way around. When intimacy goes down, that's when infidelity happens. So infidelity is not something that happens overnight. It's a journey. When you've been with the person long enough and you have interpersonal dynamics which are complicated, which are not, healthy enough, and that's when we see that most people will, kind of go outside the relationship. Many a times it also happens that people feel that emotional intimacy is not that important, only physical intimacy is important. But you need to understand one thing about infidelity, that everyone's definition of infidelity is different. Someone might consider just even chatting to another person as infidelity. Someone might say that, oh, a one-night stand or a hookup is okay, and as long as you're not getting emotionally involved. Okay. So there are different kinds of infidelity, and that's very personal to each person, to each couple. But more often than not, what we see is that in long-standing relationships, when we do not have a healthy understanding of interpersonal dynamics, and when couples have been in a deadlock about certain conflicts and they feel that, oh, this is a sign of a bad relationship or a deteriorating relationship, is when infidelity enters the equation. Very often, it's also about how you feel in the relationship and not often about, how your partner is in the relationship. So when a person is cheated upon, the spouse might feel, or the partner might feel that, oh, I was lacking in something, or it was my fault that my partner went out and cheated. But more often than not, it's about themselves, the way they were feeling, the need for them to feel that excitement, the novelty seeking, or, some sort of validation for self that leads to infidelity. So it's mostly the other way around.
What are some early signs of lack of intimacy, emotionally and physically both?
So emotionally and physically, if you want to look at signs of decreasing intimacy, it's usually, what you would see a lot in the early periods of dating, the exact opposite of that. So when the relationship is new, you constantly think about your partner, you want to reach out to them, you want to talk to them, non-sexual touch like hugging, kissing, or, just expressing fondness. Holding hands, exactly. So all of these things start decreasing. So these are more visible or physical signs of decreasing intimacy. At an emotional level, what's happening is basically there is decreased connection. So decreased, moments of connection. So most couples have, or healthy couples will have a healthy amount of bids for connection. So let's say I want your attention, and it's not like a full-blown important conversation where I want your attention. It can be something as simple as, oh, what happened today? My friend said this, or this happened to me during the day. And the crucial part is my partner responding to that. So my partner saying, oh, is it really? And taking genuine interest in what I am saying. If my partner's turning away, if my partner's not giving me the response to my bid for connection, that's when we say that the signs of, deterioration in a relationship is beginning. So, this lack of intimacy, what we talk about, intimacy at an emotional level is nothing but having this sense of, wanting to connect with my partner. So, feeling at the end of the day, oh, I can't get back home and want to share my day with my partner, or, ask them about their day. So that's a very important sign of decreasing intimacy between couples.
So is it normal in couples who've been together for long for the intimacy to dip or go away?
Absolutely. So intimacy or, passion or physical attraction or just the desire for intercourse and sex is a physiological function of our body. So just like, some days we are more sleepy, some days we are less sleepy, some days we are more hungry, some days we are less hungry. And that changes with our lifestyle, that changes with our life period. So it's absolutely normal for couples to go through periods where their libido and intimacy and intercourse is reduced, whereas at other times it's heightened.
Also not aligned, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, that's also possible. So if you will see that most women after childbirth will have a decreased libido, though they have been, without intercourse or without intimacy for a very long period of time when they were pregnant. But after that, most of the resources are focused on taking care of the baby and recuperating from the pregnancy and the childbirth. So they might go through decreased libido. External factors like any form of stress, so financial stress, emotional stress, going through grief, all of this is going to affect your intimacy levels as a couple and as an individual as well.
And is this reduced intimacy level a sign of the relationship not working out?
Not necessarily. So the most important thing you'll have to see that is this something new, right? A lot of couples will have a certain level of intimacy and passion in their relationship and they're comfortable with that, and that's been the way since beginning. And as long as both partners are comfortable with it, then that's not a concern. But if you see that this is a new thing, that earlier we had a very passionate relationship and now the levels of intimacy are decreasing, or they have been low for a very long period of time and they are not coming back up, even when my partner is kind of expressing interest or trying to kind of initiate something, that's when it becomes a problem or it becomes a sign of concern.
What role do hormones, health concerns play here?
Hormone is one of the biggest pillars which affect, our intimacy, our passion, and our sexual intercourse. So hormones affect everything right from our mood to our thoughts to our behaviors. It also affects our body weight, the body appearances, and in effect, it kind of affects your self-image and your self-acceptance of your body. So all of these interplay a very big role in intimacy with your partner. You need to have healthy hormonal levels to, be functioning as a healthy adult.
Right. So, just a while ago, I asked you about mismatched alignment of the
Yes.
libido. How do you tackle that? How do you handle that without getting into a blame game or shaming each other?
Absolutely. So it's very important because this is something that we see very often when two partners are in different life stages or different life journeys. One partner might actually be feeling increased need for intercourse or passionate involvement, while the other partner is not feeling that active. So the best thing or the most important thing to do here is to communicate, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. And that is why we advise all couples who are, having a committed relationship, talk to each other right from the beginning. Understand your partner, understand their desire levels, their passion levels, and later on, if you ever notice that there is a mismatch, then talk about it again. That okay, something is changing. Is this something that we need to talk about? Is this something that we need to fix? The most important thing is that when we are sexually frustrated or when we are frustrated emotionally, we might end up criticizing our partner, which is nothing but a expression of my frustration. But if I'm using a criticizing tone, my partner is very likely to become defensive. It increases their sense of inadequacy, and that's going to lead to worsen intimacy instead of improving that intimacy. So that's something we need to understand, that open conversations and expressing your desires and then reaching a compromise. So sometimes intimacy might just be being there for your partner, right? You might not be there, but that's an act of compassion, that's an act of love that you're doing for your partner sometimes. So reaching a compromise, a middle ground, is something that can tide you over this period of mismatched libidos.
Right. So actually, that was my next question. I wanted to know if intimacy can be rebuilt after a long gap or long distance. And I want to also bring in the aspect of long distance relationships here, right?
Yes.
If you're dating somebody who's not in the same city, if you're married and both partners are not living in the same city.
Yeah.
So obviously, open communication is one aspect. What
Yes.
are the other things that couples can do?
So here we need to understand that it's a very individual thing. So a lot of people, right before the long distance relationship begins, they have an idea because they know themselves well and their needs and desires that, oh, long distance is not for me. Or if we are in a long distance, and it probably is going to be an open relationship, because I do not want to feel sexually frustrated here. So that's different for different couples. But one thing we need to understand is that even when it's a long distance relationship, and if we're talking about rekindling the passion after a long time apart, the effort needs to start while you're apart. It cannot begin just after you have come back together.
Right.
So there are ways of connecting with each other, continuing the fondness with each other, keeping the passion alive while you are away, and that makes it easier to reconnect and rebuild your passion once you're back together. So that is something that helps. Open communication is definitely a base for anything healthy in a relationship. But along with that, here we are going to require an additional effort because you might not be in the same time zone, because you are sometimes out of sight, out of mind. That is why we will need to put in an extra effort. So scheduling times in your schedules, or during your day when we are going to connect with each other without any other distractions,
Right.
or having activities together. So we all know that people have these virtual dates where we'll both watch the same movie at the same time. So even though we're in a long distance, it feels like a date night or a movie night for us.
Right.
So simple activities like this is something that we can do to kind of improve the intimacy levels and the bonding between couples.
And this makes me think that it's a little trickier when you're together and there is distance, because then the frustration level is so much more. So, what are some things that couples can do physically and emotionally for each other to reduce the distance, to bring the spark back?
So there are a lot of things that a couple can do, right? That depends upon how well you know your partner, how well you are, how comfortable you are, and what is it that you want to explore. Something as simple as, having a love map. So a love map is nothing but having the idea of what are the intimate things that your partner, or the intimate feelings that your partner has, which he or she has probably not shared with anyone ever, right? So getting to know what was their favorite childhood moment, or what was their favorite childhood toy, right? So these things, we might not see them as a sexual bit of connection, but this is something that makes my partner feel connected to me. This is something that my partner feels valued about when I talk about these things, or get to know these things. So that is something that can be done. There are a lot of other exciting things. So when you build a foundation using love maps, or getting to know your partner and build on the emotional intimacy, after that there are things that you can do to continue building the spark. So there are these naughty games online, or you get these card games that allow you to experiment, exploring each other's bodies sometimes. So there's something we call a sensate focus technique, where the goal is to find out the pleasure points. Since we're talking on pleasure principle, we need to find out the pleasure points. What are the points in your body which kind of make you feel aroused and connected, and not necessarily in a sexual way. Here the goal is not orgasming or climaxing. It's just about knowing your partner's body and allowing your partner to know your body. So these are the things that we do to improve
Also,
the
this
bonding.
is where love languages come in.
Love language is one of the theories. So that's more about, I think, interpersonal relationships between couples. So what is it that makes your partner feel valued, or what is it that makes your partner feel seen? So that's there.
Can things like flirting with your partner, I know a lot of couples where, the guy will say something very cheesy and, it'll make the woman in the relationship very happy, or the other way around also. So can things like flirting and physical touch bring back the chemistry?
Absolutely. They are an essential. So, like we were talking about infidelity, and we said that sometimes, there's this lack of passion that develops in a relationship, is because many people, end up in these, roommate relationships where you're living together, but there is no effort, no, spark, which is there in the initial period of dating. Because you're trying to get to know each other, you're going to put in extra effort. You're trying to show your wit, you're trying to show your passion, and then this dies off or decreases during, long-term relationships, and that's when we need to bring it back. So that's again very individual, depending upon the couple, what they like and what makes them feel seen and wanted. But yes, flirting, intelligent conversations, being honest, appreciation is the most underrated tool, I think. We don't appreciate our partners enough. So my husband and I have a rule, like every day morning we are going to kind of comment about each other's outfit, that okay, this looks good, or you're looking so nice, and we make an effort. It's like we see each other like 12 hours in a day, but we're still going to make that effort to comment and compliment, or this color looks very nice on you, or this tie is amazing. So this is something that most couples miss out on, these small moments throughout the day which make you feel seen and heard with your partner.
Does therapy come in at some point? Does seeking professional help work in such situations?
Absolutely. So therapy plays a very big role. So a lot of people come with, complaints of the relationship changing, not necessarily that the passion is dying, or not necessarily that the infidelity has occurred, but, just feeling that change in relationship, that I don't feel valued enough, I don't feel appreciated enough, or, there are some conflicts which just don't get resolved. And that kind of overflows into our personal space and, our intimacy space. So that's when I think, therapy plays a big big role when we try and improve the interpersonal relationships between the couple.
Let's talk about something that a lot of people still don't know enough about. I'm talking about menopause. How does it affect a woman, her body, and her sexual desires?
So menopause is nothing but, it's a part of normal aging for women where your body ends the reproductive timeline that you have. So your ovaries stop producing the eggs and the hormones that are there during your youth start changing. So it affects you physically and emotionally. Menopause is associated with increased chances of depressive symptoms, anxiety, and other mental health issues. And that's purely biological, because your hormones are changing. So we know that estrogen and progesterone have a big effect on mood. Anyone who's had PCOS knows how bad the mood fluctuations during PMS is, right? And that's because of your reproductive hormones. So when menopause is occurring, this changes is going to occur in your body. Along with that, there are physical signs and symptoms. So, your mucosa, so the lining of the vagina kind of changes. Women experience a lot of dryness in the vaginal area, because of which intercourse becomes difficult. They might have hot flashes, which is again a very uncomfortable symptom, which makes intimacy difficult. Another thing that happens is because we associate menopause with aging, that, oh, I am old now, right? And then there's a lot of sense of shame and guilt which is associated with intercourse during that period. So a lot of women will notice a decrease in their libido, or because of the social messages that we receive with regards
Also,
to
body image issues, right? At that point of
Absolutely,
time.
yes. So post-menopause, we see a lot of women gain weight, especially what we call as central obesity. So your abdominal area will kind of put on fat, which is very resistant. You might try dieting, you might try exercising, but because it's influenced by hormones and that's, influenced by your constitution, your genetic constitution, weight loss becomes a very big challenge. So women start, immediately feeling very unattractive or start struggling with body image issues. So all of these levels affect intimacy, they affect your, desire levels, everything together.
Final question. In such cases, what can the partner do to make a woman who is going through menopause feel better?
Be there as a supportive partner, right? Most often than not, your spouse, especially your female spouse, is going to require emotional support when they're going through this. There are doctors who can, help you with the medical journey, but as a spouse, being there, understanding that they're going through a change, that is something that's very important, and reassuring that things are going to be okay. This is a phase and we can always improve. Having open communication, talking about their likes and dislikes and what is it that they want. That's something very important.
I think women should also remember that pot-bellied and men with receding hairlines are still appealing for us. So when women put on weight and have body image issues,
It is, absolutely.
men will still
Absolutely.
appreciate them as long as the communication is going.
Yes, so physical attraction is just, the surface of intimacy, right? For any healthy relationship, for any continuing relationship, it needs to go way deeper than physical attraction. So yes, physical attraction or, having a good body, looking well, looking good is part of your self-image, right? That should be focused on because I want to feel good about myself.
Correct.
That need not be necessarily just to attract another person. If a person has to be in a healthy relationship with you, it has to go beyond the physical looks and appearances.
And I think most importantly, we should just remember that love and intimacy are verbs. It's not something that happens. It's something
Yes.
that you do. It's something that you make an effort for. So as long as you make an effort, your partner will appreciate that.
So yes, absolutely. Any romantic relationship or long, healthy relationship is based on 3 pillars, what we call as a triangular theory of love. So there is intimacy, there's passion and commitment, right? All 3 of them need effort. It's not going to happen without any effort. We see that relationships over time tend to lose passion, but you have to make that effort. It's a choice that you make every day with your partner.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mansi. As always, it's wonderful talking to you.
My pleasure being here. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any questions, please let us know. Dr. Mansi is right here. She will be happy to answer your questions. And you can also send us a WhatsApp. Our number is 9833 943 943.
94.3 Radio 1.